Hello everyone, welcome back to Second Chance. I am so happy to be back. It's been a minute, but I'm grateful that I'm back. So this year we've had about 3 people that we interviewed, and the first one was Tapiwa, and his story was showing us that God is Jehovah Jireh. He managed to provide funds for his dad when he needed it, and today his dad is happy. His eyesight is back and the operation went well. I mean, God heals through medication. He also heals through faith and prayer, right? And then the second story was Tenjiwe's story, an accident survivor. And I enjoyed that one, again, because that was my high school friend. And it was just interesting to go through that experience with her as she was narrating to us how she went through it and how God healed her from the trauma, and now she can walk in heels. So that's nice. And then the third one was a story about educational challenges, and we had Mrs. Mavingano who shared with us how she managed to pick that her child had something wrong that was going on, and she quickly acted as a parent, and today her son is doing something in mechanics, right? And it's interesting that, you know, as parents, if we quickly take action, we can help our kids. So today we've got an interesting story, a very emotional one. It's a story on medical reactions, right? And sometimes it's, you know, when you get stomach ache, or let's say a headache, and you go to the doctor and you get medication, you don't always think that something might go wrong or my body might react negatively to this medication. But sometimes it can happen that way. And that is what happened with this guest, beautiful, lovely guest that we've got here today. Her name is Natasha Annie Macho, right? She's got Zambian origins, but she was born in Zimbabwe. And she's an author, loves fashion, loves children, and has got a big heart. So she says she's an upcoming author, yes. So I will leave her to introduce herself and tell you guys all about her. Over to you, Natasha.
Jana matamari, jana matamari, nyangwezi ome, nyangwezi waze jana matamari, jana matamari, jana matamari.
Hello guys, how are you? I am so excited today to share my story with you. So let me first introduce myself. So my name is Natasha Macho. I am 26 years old. I come from Zambia and I live in Harare. I was born in Gweru and grew up in Shtungiza. I am an upcoming author, and I will be expecting my first book very soon, and I'm so excited about that. And I am also a beauty therapist, and I am in love with fashion, lifestyle, beauty, especially how the standards of beauty are changing to fit the average woman. I am a very talkative young lady, and I always tell myself that I am strong, I am beautiful, I am unique, and I'm outstanding, sweet young lady, and I have a big heart. That's why I love children, because they are so innocent, and because of the things I have gone through in my life, my love is directed to children. So my dream is to one day open a children's home for those who don't have where to stay. I can provide them with food, shelter, anything. So this is it about myself. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that, Natasha. I really appreciate you coming to be part of this show. I figured that we've got the same middle names, Annie, and also that we love kids, we love children, and we've got a big heart. So that's two of us there. So getting on to Natasha's story, guys, it's a very emotional one, like I said earlier on. So she says that during lockdown, she had a stomach ache, just a stomach ache, and she went to the hospital, right? And she was given medication, and she took this medication for 1 week. And during this 1 week, she had a dream, and in this dream, one of the ladies that go to her church, it was almost like she had passed on. So they were going to her funeral, right? They were at her funeral, and but the disturbing thing was that this lady was not in the coffin. She was in front by the pulpit, and she was preaching. And it was like she was preaching that people should repent because there's an afterlife. So after preaching, people carried a coffin and started to do the procession of walking out. And this lady came to her and gave her 3 big green leaves. And on those leaves were written, "God loves you and never give up." So Natasha typed out her story for me so that I can narrate it and as well refer to some points, right? So she says that she didn't understand the dream, so she just ignored it and continued with her life. So after this 1 week, that's when she started to have a headache, and her mom was not around. Her dad, in the morning before he went to work, noticed that her eyes were red. So he asked her, "What's wrong with you?" And she says, "No, I'm fine, probably an allergy," right? But the dad was not satisfied. He just went to work, but he was not as satisfied with the answer. So the next morning, she says that she woke up and she could not do her house chores. So she asked her sister to help her, and her condition was getting worse. So her mom came back, and they were now preparing to go to the hospital since it was getting bad, right? But then they didn't go the same day. They went the next morning. And that next morning, when she woke up, the headache was worse, and she was vomiting, and it was just terrible. I mean, and she didn't know what it was, but all she knew was she took medication, and now she was sick. So when she went to hospital, right, most of the hospitals that she was going to, they were full. So the one she managed to go to, it just was happening that every time that the doctor would come to attend to her, then then an emergency would happen, right? And at first she just thought, okay, but then it was now starting to be a problem. And all this while, she never thought that she was going to get admitted. Now, this is where her story begins, right? There's going to be pictures that will be shown to you guys. She says that from the headache, remember she had a stomach ache, then to the headache, and now she started to have blisters her whole body. Sorry, it's kind of disturbing, but this is her testimony and we should hear. So she started to have blisters the whole body from her head to her toes, right? And then that's when she was admitted and put on drip. From the blisters, she lost her speech. She now could not speak. And one evening, she wanted to go to recess and she could not call the nurses because she could not speak, right? So she woke up and tried to reach for a bucket, and she could not reach the bucket because she could not walk. So this was getting terrible, guys, from just a stomach ache, headache, blisters. Now she cannot talk, she cannot walk. It was quite something. So one thing about it that I picked was that interested me was she was in hospital and all those things were happening, but she did not see her condition. So she writes here that one time her dad and her pastor came to visit her and they cried because of the condition that she was in. That's when it clicked in her head that, yo, I am in trouble. So when they saw this, they then changed her from that hospital that she was at to a private hospital. So before they changed her, obviously, you go and look for a bed and stuff like that, and then you pay. So the morning that they took her to the new hospital, the receptionist says, "I'm sorry, we're not taking any new patients." Then the dad says, "But I paid yesterday. I mean, why not?" Then the receptionist says, "I'm sorry, I was not on duty yesterday. We can even refund you your money." Guys, this is scary. I mean, you can't walk, you can't talk, you've got blisters. She hadn't lost her eyesight, but all this was going on, and the hospital says we cannot take anyone because of COVID. Anyways, the dad managed to talk to the receptionist, and after the talks, they accepted her into the hospital, and then she was straight on put on ICU, right? Put in ICU, and because her condition was worsening. And she says that, "I would like to thank God for the nurses and the doctors who were attending to me. They were so friendly. One day the pain was just too much. I remember crying out to God, kuti Mwari, daimanditora," because the pain was too much. I mean, I can imagine. I think she has just gotten to her bottom, like rock bottom, because pain, until she now just wanted to go. And she was saying the pain was unbearable. And I also remember asking God for forgiveness. Another thing that touched me in this story was that in all this, she remembered God. And that's a good thing, because other people, would start going to other places. But I mean, we're Christians, we go back to God. I mean, He's the maker, right? Then she says that then she lost her eyesight. So this is how many senses gone. She cannot see, she cannot walk, and she cannot talk. Then she says the nurse. She now knew the nurses through their voices, like through hearing. If she hears a certain voice, she knows that, oh, this is this nurse, no names, So, and she says that they would come and would read the Bible to her sometimes, and also on Sundays they'll tell her what she read at church, what they heard at church, right? So she says one day the eye doctor came and tried to open her eyes, and she could not open, and it was confirmed now she was blind, confirmed blind. And after 3 days, the doctor says, if this continues, we'll have to operate her. She would have to undergo surgery. And it's not 100% that it's going to be successful, right? But then, thank God, her nurses were really there for her, because the nurse told her that, you know what, don't worry, it's going to be fine. We will pray about it. So this is interesting. She says that same night, she had a dream of 2 men that came to her, and they were saying that, you need to stop this praying business that you're doing and worshiping. Otherwise, you are going to die. But if you want to live, you need to stop praying. Then she says that, I just said, I will not stop. She says in Shona, andineti kutenda ishe muri chipotero changu. And your love is kind. Jesus, you love me too much. Then she managed to sleep. So she was saying this in her dream, and then she managed to sleep, right? So the sister that was on night shift duty, she pavakauya kundigezesa makuseni vachinditi warara usiku wese uchiimba gospel music. Then ndikati kuimba, I thought ndaipindura moyo semunhu anga asatauri. But hero, I was speaking loud. So this was her thinking that, remember she was saying, Jesus, you love me, and this was in the dream. She was singing in the dream. And the sister that was on night duty came to tell her in the morning that you were singing gospel music. Remember, this is the person who was not talking anymore, right? So to her, it was like, oh, wow, I was actually talking. I could not talk anymore. So they were surprised, and it was a miracle, a testimony. Then the doctor also came. The doctor also came and came to see her, and he was in shock during visiting hour, as she was explaining her dream to her sister, right? So now her speech came back. And she was now telling her sister, and the doctor who came was actually shocked to see her talking. Wow, God is good. Then the next day, the eye doctor came, optician, he came, and he came to open her eyes. Anzi, the doctor vemaziso pavakauya kuzovhura maziso zvavakaita pekutanga. He tried the same method, and my eyes opened. So this doctor came the first time when he tried to open her eyes, since she had gone blind, tried opening her eyes, and she could not open her eyes. She was blind. But because in this dream she refused to stop worshipping and to stop praying, when the optician came and tried to, the very same method that he used to open her eyes the first time, it worked. And he was shocked. So the next day, when she was now going to get a bath, now she could stretch her legs. Stretch her legs. Guys, this is wonderful. And she says, I remember one day when I wanted to go to use the bathroom and the nurses were not there, she stood up and she managed to walk, right? And when she went there, the nurses thought she was going to maybe fall or have an accident along the way. But when she came, when they were looking for her, they saw her walking back and everything was fine. So she says, I remember my first review, the doctor says, Mwaruwa unonamata ndamuchka. Most patients vanopinda in your situation vanofa. So guys, this is an amazing story of how God healed someone, because if you see her pictures, it's scary. I mean, her before, her during the sickness, and after. It just shows that we really serve a God that is alive, a God that heals. You know, Isaiah 53 verse 5 is for real, because if you see her skin, how all her skin was peeled and her face, and now if you see her skin now, it's crazy. When I heard her story the first time, I could not believe it, and we just could not slot her in because of distance. But then we just thought, okay, why not do the online thing, and probably it's going to work out, and we've managed to do this, and I'm so grateful that we have recorded her story, and I believe that someone out there will be helped. Before we close this session, let's just give a few minutes to Natasha, to tell us how hard it was for her family, for herself, and also just for people around, and how she managed to go through this time, and how God was for her. We want to hear it from her mouth. So over to you, Annie.
So my family, my friends, my parents, they were there for me. Vakamira neni panguva yakaoma kudaro. Panguva yekuti ndakangotanga kusagona kuona, kusataura, kusafamba, zvese zvanga zvakaoma as a family, but they had to stay strong for me, because inini wacho ndanga ndisinganzwisise kuti pandaita reaction yemedication yanga ndichimwa, pandaita reaction ndandisingazivi kuti body yangu yange yatochinja zvekutodaro. So ndanga kusaona, saka vakatry kuda kuisa tube yekuti ndidye nayo, but vakatadza, because vakati maronda anga ari mukanwa aigona kuzodzika kuenda kusadza, saka ndandangoshanda nedrip chete. Saka ndozvanga zvakuitika. So I remember I had a dream, ndichiudzwa kunzi ndisiyane nezvekunamata kana ndichida kurarama, but ndakaramba mudream. So pandakamuka ndaita kunge ndikuita madzikiriro like. And I also remember kuti pandakaudza sister yangu about that dream, I also had the same dream. Ndakuudzwa kunzi se usingateerere tanga tichitry kukubetsera what. Saka kana wakusada kumira kunamata wakutofa after 3 days. Then ndabva ndati kana kuri kufa ndichinamata, it's okay, ngandife ndichinamata, because kwandabviswa naMwari kure. So it was a very tough situation for me, especially for my family, because I remember ndakatombonamata ndikati Mwari dai manditora, because zvanga zvakandiomera, the pain was just too much. Blisters acho anga akawandisa and ndairwadziwa zvisingaite, ndairwadziwa, but I couldn't understand kuti vanhu vari kutouya nozondiona vari kutorwadziwa more because vaikwanisa kuona zvangandiri. But anyway, I thank God for healing because Mwari vakandirwira kubva pasituation yanga ndiri. Until now tinongotenda Mwari because when I look at those pictures tinoona ukuru hwaMwari, because panga ndave nepandiri nhasi tinotenda Mwari. Zvanga zvakaoma, especially for my mother, vaiuya every day, havana musi wavakamborekedza kuuya nozondiona. Could come even though dzimwe dzenguva vaitadza kupinda because vaizochema, but vakaramba vakamira neni, vakaramba vakashinga. Even my dad vakatombouya vakandiona, vakatombopinda muchipatara vakachema, asi nenda ndisingakwanisi kunzwisisa kuti kusei vanhu varongoti vakauya nozondiona vari kuchema. But ndakazotozvinzwisisa kuti vanhu vari kuchema nenyaya yekuti ndachinja, bhodhi yangu haisisiri zvainge iri, skin yangu haisisiri zvainge iri, zvinhu zvese zvachinja pangandiri. So tinofanira kuramba tichinamata. So my advice is vanhu vanofanira kuramba vachinamata, no matter what circumstances you're facing in your life, you should always stand with God. Inini I know ndambotaura kuti ndakambosvika panguva yekuchema kuti Mwari dai manditora. Yes, I did that, but I also remember going back to God, asking for forgiveness, kuti Mwari ndiregerere, I really need you, kuti ndipore, ndiri kuda imimi, because handingakwanisi kumwa mapiritsi ndichimarutsa, handingakwanisi kuswa drip ndichirutsa, saka ndinopora sei.
Thank you so much for that, Annie. I really learned a lot from your story, and I believe that someone out there who is at her breaking point because of sickness, when they hear the story, they're going to have some faith to know that God can still heal, and He is still in the business of healing people. And I just want to encourage everyone watching out there that, you know, He says He is the Lord that healeth all your diseases. I mean, the doctors tested her for so many different things, and she was fine. So it just shows that it was an attack from the devil. The doctors didn't know what was causing it, but it was just the devil attacking. And God proved Himself to be mighty. He proved Himself to be able. So, guys, thank you so much for joining us today. I have an announcement that I've got a single coming up very soon, and the title of the single, I'll just tell you the title and maybe just play a little short clip so you guys have an idea. It's called I Had No Input. So I can't wait to see all of you supporting and showing so much love. Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate you guys. For those who haven't subscribed, please do. For those who have subscribed, continue to share, to like, and to comment. I mean, your comments keep us going. Your comments encourage us, you know, to just keep pushing. And anyone who's got a story, please do not hesitate to contact me, because this is going to be an amazing journey. I mean, you sharing your testimony and hearing other people's testimonies, all of us, we all have testimonies to share and to help the next person. So, guys, thank you so much. Till we meet again.